It's a topic that stirs debate, drives policy decisions, and impacts millions of lives across America. Illegal immigration has shaped the social and political landscape of the United States for decades. But have you ever wondered which states are home to the highest number of undocumented immigrants? The answers might surprise you. Before we dive into the top 10 states, take a guess. What state do you think has the most undocumented immigrants? Is it Texas or maybe California? What about New York? Go ahead and drop your guess in the comments below. You might be shocked by what we reveal in just a few moments. There are an estimated 11 to 12 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States, according to the latest data. These individuals come from all over the world, seeking better opportunities, safety, and a future for their families. But where exactly are they settling? Which states have the highest numbers and why? Let's break it down, starting with number 10. Starting us off at number 10 is Georgia. With an estimated 400,000 undocumented immigrants, Georgia has become a growing hub for immigrants seeking work, driven by the state's thriving industries and its relatively affordable cost of living. Georgia might not be the first state that comes to mind when you think about immigration, but it's important to recognize the role that its economy plays in attracting undocumented workers. Agriculture is a cornerstone of Georgia's economy, and the state ranks among the top producers of crops like peanuts, pecans, onions, and of course, peaches. The agricultural sector demands a significant workforce, and much of that workforce consists of immigrant labor, particularly undocumented workers. Immigrants in Georgia often take on jobs that are labor-intensive and difficult, such as picking crops in the fields or working in poultry plants, where conditions can be harsh. The construction industry is another major employer of undocumented workers in Georgia. As cities like Atlanta continue to grow, there's an increasing need for skilled and unskilled labor to build homes, office buildings, and infrastructure. Construction companies often turn to undocumented immigrants to fill these roles because they are willing to work long hours for relatively low wages. While these jobs can offer steady work, they also come with risks, including the threat of deportation and the potential for exploitation by employers. In addition to agriculture and construction, Georgia's manufacturing sector also provides employment opportunities for undocumented immigrants. Many factories in Georgia produce goods ranging from textiles to automotive parts, and immigrant workers are often found working in these plants. Although factory work is sometimes seen as being more stable than agricultural or construction jobs, it can still be physically demanding and low-paying. Many undocumented workers find themselves laboring in factories under difficult conditions, with little job security and few protections. Despite the economic opportunities available, life for undocumented immigrants in Georgia is not without its challenges. Georgia has implemented strict immigration laws in recent years, including measures that allow local law enforcement to check the immigration status of individuals during routine traffic stops. These laws have created a climate of fear for many undocumented immigrants, who worry that any encounter with the police could lead to detention or deportation. However, Georgia also has strong immigrant communities, particularly in cities like Atlanta, where immigrants from Latin America, Asia, and Africa have settled. These communities provide a sense of support and belonging for undocumented immigrants, offering everything from social services to legal assistance. In some areas, immigrant-led organizations and advocacy groups have pushed back against harsh immigration policies, fighting for the rights and dignity of undocumented workers. Ultimately, Georgia is a state of contrasts when it comes to immigration. On one hand, its economy depends on the labor of undocumented immigrants, particularly in agriculture, construction, and manufacturing. On the other hand, the state's political climate can be hostile to immigrants, with strict laws and enforcement policies that make life difficult for those without legal status. Despite these challenges, many undocumented immigrants continue to call Georgia home, drawn by the opportunities it offers and the strong communities they've built. 9. New Jersey. Coming in at number 9 is New Jersey, home to an estimated 460,000 undocumented immigrants. Despite its small size, New Jersey has one of the most diverse populations in the country, and its proximity to major urban centers like New York City and Philadelphia makes it a prime destination for immigrants. New Jersey's economy is incredibly varied, and this diversity has attracted immigrants from all over the world, including large numbers from Latin America, the Caribbean, and Asia. One of the key industries in New Jersey that employs undocumented immigrants is the restaurant and hospitality industry. From fast food chains to fine dining establishments, restaurants across the state rely heavily on immigrant labor, particularly in back-of-house positions like dishwashing, cooking, and food preparation. These jobs are often low-paying, but they provide a steady source of income for undocumented workers who are trying to support their families. In addition to the restaurant industry, New Jersey also has a significant number of undocumented immigrants working in construction. As both residential and commercial building projects continue to expand in cities like Newark, Jersey City, and Camden, construction companies have turned to immigrant labor to meet the high demand for workers. Many undocumented immigrants in New Jersey work in these physically demanding jobs, often with little job security and few protections against workplace injuries or wage theft. Another major sector that employs undocumented immigrants in New Jersey is the state's logistics and transportation industry. With its extensive network of ports, highways, and railroads, New Jersey is a critical hub for the movement of goods along the East Coast. Many undocumented immigrants find work in warehouses, loading and unloading trucks, sorting packages, or driving delivery vehicles. These jobs are essential to keeping the state's economy running, but they are often low-paying and come with few benefits. New Jersey's immigrant population is particularly concentrated in urban areas, where entire neighborhoods are shaped by immigrant cultures. In cities like Paterson, you can find vibrant communities made up of immigrants from countries like the Dominican Republic, Peru, and the Philippines. These neighborhoods provide a sense of community and support for undocumented immigrants, offering everything from social services and legal assistance to cultural events and religious gatherings. For many undocumented immigrants, these communities are a lifeline, helping them navigate life in the U.S. without legal status. Despite the economic contributions of undocumented immigrants, New Jersey has faced its share of immigration enforcement issues. While some cities in the state have adopted sanctuary policies that limit cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities, other areas have been more aggressive in cracking down on undocumented immigration. This has led to a patchwork of enforcement policies. 8. North Carolina. At number 8 on our list is North Carolina, a state that has seen a significant increase in its immigrant population over the past few decades. With an estimated 370,000 undocumented immigrants, North Carolina has become a major destination for those seeking work in industries like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing. North Carolina is one of the top agricultural states in the U.S., producing crops like tobacco, sweet potatoes, and soybeans. The state's agriculture industry is heavily reliant on immigrant labor, particularly undocumented workers, who perform some of the most difficult and physically demanding jobs in the fields. From planting and tending crops to harvesting and packing them for distribution, undocumented immigrants play a crucial role in keeping North Carolina's farms running. One of the major crops in North Carolina is tobacco, a labor-intensive crop that requires a significant amount of manual labor. Many undocumented immigrants work on tobacco farms, where they spend long hours in the sun, often for low wages and with few protections. These workers are essential to North Carolina's tobacco industry, which has been a cornerstone of the state's economy for centuries. In addition to agriculture, North Carolina's construction industry has also attracted a large number of undocumented immigrants. Cities like Charlotte and Raleigh have experienced rapid growth in recent years, with new housing developments, office buildings, and infrastructure projects springing up across the state. Many of the workers building these projects are undocumented immigrants, who often face dangerous working conditions and the threat of wage theft. Despite these challenges, construction jobs offer a way for undocumented workers to earn a living and support their families. Undocumented immigrants in North Carolina are also found in the state's manufacturing sector, particularly in industries like textiles, furniture production, and food processing. North Carolina has a long history of manufacturing, and while many factories have closed or relocated in recent years, the state still has a significant number of manufacturing jobs. Undocumented immigrants often work in these factories, where they help produce goods that are sold across the country and around the world. But life for undocumented immigrants in North Carolina is not without its challenges. The state has passed several laws aimed at cracking down on undocumented immigration, including measures that require local law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. These laws have made it easier for undocumented immigrants to be detained and deported, creating a climate of fear for many immigrant families. At the same time, North Carolina has seen the rise of immigrant-led advocacy groups that have fought back against these laws and worked to protect the rights of undocumented workers. These organizations provide legal assistance, social services, and community support for immigrants, helping them navigate the challenges of living in the U.S. without legal status. In cities like Durham and Greensboro, immigrant communities have become more organized and vocal, pushing for policies that protect the rights of undocumented workers and their families. One of the key issues facing undocumented immigrants in North Carolina is access to health care. Many undocumented workers do not have health insurance, and they often rely on community health clinics or emergency rooms for medical care. This lack of access to health care can be particularly dangerous for those working in physically demanding jobs, as they are more prone to workplace injuries and illnesses. Another challenge for undocumented immigrants in North Carolina is the threat of deportation. The state has a significant presence of immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, agents, and raids on workplaces and homes are not uncommon. These raids have led to the detention and deportation of many undocumented immigrants, separating families and creating a climate of fear in immigrant communities. Despite these challenges, North Carolina's immigrant communities remain resilient. In cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, immigrant-led organizations have worked to build coalitions with labor unions, faith groups, and advocacy organizations to push for better working conditions, access to health care, and protections from deportation. These efforts have helped to create a sense of solidarity among immigrants and their allies, as they fight for a more just and equitable system. Overall, North Carolina is a state where undocumented immigrants make significant contributions to the economy, particularly in agriculture, construction, and manufacturing. While the state has implemented harsh immigration enforcement policies, immigrant communities have fought back, organizing for change and building a strong network of support. Despite the challenges they face, undocumented immigrants in North Carolina continue to play a vital role in shaping the state's economy and culture. 7. Arizona. Arizona, coming in at number 7, is a state that has long been at the center of the national immigration debate. With an estimated 300,000 undocumented immigrants, Arizona's proximity to the U.S.-Mexico border has made it a key entry point for immigrants from Latin America, particularly Mexico. Arizona's economy is deeply intertwined with its immigrant population, particularly in industries like agriculture, construction, and tourism. The state's agriculture sector is one of the largest in the country, producing crops like lettuce, cotton, and citrus fruits. Many of the workers who harvest these crops are undocumented immigrants, who spend long hours in the hot Arizona sun, often for low wages and with few protections. These workers are essential to Arizona's agricultural industry, which is a major contributor to the state's economy. In addition to agriculture, Arizona's construction industry has also attracted a large number of undocumented immigrants. Phoenix, in particular, has experienced rapid growth in recent years, with new housing developments, office buildings, and infrastructure projects springing up across the city. Many of the workers building these projects are undocumented immigrants, who often face dangerous working conditions and the threat of wage theft. Despite these challenges, construction jobs offer a way for undocumented workers to earn a living and support their families. Tourism is another major industry in Arizona, particularly in areas like the Grand Canyon, Sedona, and Scottsdale. Many undocumented immigrants find work in the hospitality sector, where they clean hotel rooms, work in restaurants, or provide other services to tourists. These jobs are often low-paying and offer few benefits, but they provide a steady source of income for immigrants who are trying to make a living in the U.S. Arizona has long been a focal point in the national immigration debate, particularly with the passage of laws like SB 1070, which allowed local law enforcement to check the immigration status of individuals they suspected were in the country illegally. This law sparked national controversy and led to widespread protests, but it also highlighted the challenges faced by undocumented immigrants in Arizona. Many undocumented workers live in fear of being stopped by the police, as even a minor traffic violation could lead to detention and deportation. Despite these challenges, Arizona's immigrant communities have continued to grow and thrive. In cities like Tucson and Phoenix, immigrant-led organizations have worked to protect the rights of undocumented workers, providing legal assistance, social services, and community support. These organizations have also been at the forefront of efforts to push back against harsh immigration enforcement policies, organizing protests, lobbying lawmakers, and filing lawsuits to protect the rights of immigrants. One of the key issues facing undocumented immigrants in Arizona is access to education. Many undocumented students in the state face significant barriers to accessing higher education, including the inability to qualify for in-state tuition or financial aid. This has made it difficult for undocumented students to pursue a college education, even if they have lived in Arizona for most of their lives. In response, immigrant rights organizations have pushed for policies that would make it easier for undocumented students to attend college, including the passage of the Federal Dream Act, which would provide a pathway to citizenship for undocumented young people who were brought to the U.S. as children. Another challenge for undocumented immigrants in Arizona is the threat of deportation. The state has a significant presence of ICE agents, and raids on workplaces and homes are not uncommon. These raids have led to the detention and deportation of many undocumented immigrants, separating families and creating a climate of fear in immigrant communities. Despite these challenges, Arizona's immigrant communities remain resilient. In cities like Phoenix and Tucson, immigrant-led organizations have worked to build coalitions with labor unions, faith groups, and advocacy organizations to push for better working conditions, access to education, and protections from deportation. These efforts have helped to create a sense of solidarity among immigrants and their allies as they fight for a more just and equitable system. 6. Illinois. At number 6, we have Illinois, home to an estimated 400,000 undocumented immigrants. The majority of these immigrants live in the Chicago metropolitan area, a city with a long history of immigration and a vibrant immigrant community. Chicago has always been a hub for immigrants, dating back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when waves of European immigrants arrived in the city. Today, Chicago is home to large immigrant communities from Latin America, particularly Mexico, as well as Asia and Eastern Europe. Many undocumented immigrants in Illinois work in industries like manufacturing, healthcare, and food services, where they are a vital part of the workforce. One of the main reasons undocumented immigrants are drawn to Illinois is the state's diverse economy, which offers a wide range of job opportunities. In Chicago, many immigrants find work in factories, where they help produce everything from food products to machinery. These jobs are often physically demanding and low-paying, but they provide a steady source of income for immigrant families. In addition to manufacturing, many undocumented immigrants work in healthcare, particularly as home health aides, caring for the elderly and disabled. These jobs are essential, but they are often underpaid and offer few benefits. Illinois has also been at the forefront of the immigrant rights movement, particularly in Chicago, which has adopted sanctuary city policies that limit cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. This has provided some level of protection for undocumented immigrants living in the city, though they still face many challenges, including limited access to healthcare and education. Despite these protections, Illinois has seen its share of immigration enforcement issues. Federal immigration authorities have conducted raids in the state, detaining and deporting undocumented immigrants. This has created a climate of fear for many immigrants, who worry that they could be arrested and deported at any time. Despite these challenges, Illinois remains a state where undocumented immigrants have found ways to thrive, thanks in large part to strong immigrant communities and advocacy organizations. In neighborhoods like Little Village and Pilsen in Chicago, immigrants have built vibrant communities that reflect their cultural heritage. These neighborhoods are filled with businesses, restaurants, and social organizations that cater to the immigrant population, providing a sense of belonging and support for those who might otherwise feel isolated due to their undocumented status. The state's progressive stance on immigrant rights has also played a crucial role in supporting undocumented residents. Illinois has passed several laws aimed at improving the lives of undocumented immigrants, including the Illinois Trust Act, which limits local law enforcement's cooperation with federal immigration authorities unless there is a court-ordered warrant. Additionally, Illinois offers undocumented immigrants the ability to obtain driver's licenses, which allows them to legally drive and access transportation without the constant fear of being stopped and deported. In terms of education, Illinois has made strides in supporting undocumented students. The state is one of a few that offers in-state tuition rates to undocumented students at public universities, provided they meet certain residency requirements. This has made higher education more accessible for undocumented young people, many of whom have grown up in Illinois and consider it their home. Furthermore, Chicago is home to numerous advocacy groups and legal aid organizations that work on behalf of undocumented immigrants, offering assistance with everything from legal representation to social services. However, life for undocumented immigrants in Illinois is still fraught with difficulties. While the state and some cities, like Chicago, have taken progressive steps to protect immigrant rights, the threat of federal immigration enforcement remains real. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, continues to conduct raids in various parts of the state, particularly in more conservative rural areas where local authorities are more willing to cooperate with federal immigration officials. These raids have led to the detention and deportation of many undocumented immigrants, causing fear and uncertainty among immigrant communities. In addition to the threat of deportation, undocumented immigrants in Illinois face other challenges, such as limited access to health care. While some community health clinics and nonprofit organizations provide medical services to undocumented residents, many still struggle to access the care they need, particularly for more serious conditions. This lack of access to health care is compounded by the fact that many undocumented immigrants work in low-wage jobs without benefits, making it difficult for them to afford medical treatment. Despite these challenges, Illinois remains a state where undocumented immigrants make significant contributions to the economy, particularly in industries like manufacturing, agriculture, and the service sector. These workers are often doing the jobs that others are unwilling to do, whether it's working long hours in a factory, cleaning hotel rooms, or harvesting crops on Illinois farms. Their labor is essential to the state's economy, yet they often receive little recognition or protection in return. One of the most powerful aspects of Illinois' immigrant community is its resilience. Despite the challenges they face, undocumented immigrants in Illinois continue to work, support their families, and fight for their rights. Advocacy organizations, labor unions, and immigrant rights groups have formed strong coalitions, pushing for policies that protect undocumented workers, provide pathways to citizenship, and ensure that immigrants are treated with dignity and respect. In summary, Illinois is a state where undocumented immigrants play a vital role in the economy and the community. While the state has taken steps to protect immigrant rights, challenges remain, particularly in terms of federal immigration enforcement and access to essential services. Despite these obstacles, undocumented immigrants in Illinois continue to contribute to the state's cultural and economic fabric, showing resilience in the face of adversity. 5. Florida. Moving into the top 5, we have Florida, home to an estimated 775,000 undocumented immigrants. Florida's economy is heavily reliant on industries like agriculture, construction, and tourism, all of which depend on immigrant labor, including undocumented workers. Florida's agricultural sector is one of the largest in the country, producing crops like citrus fruits, sugarcane, and tomatoes. The state's warm climate and fertile soil make it an ideal location for growing a wide variety of crops, and much of the labor needed to harvest these crops comes from undocumented immigrants. These workers often endure grueling conditions, working long hours in the hot Florida sun for low wages. Despite the difficult nature of the work, many undocumented immigrants are drawn to Florida's agricultural industry because it offers a steady source of income. In addition to agriculture, Florida's booming construction industry has also attracted a large number of undocumented workers. Cities like Miami, Orlando, and Tampa have experienced rapid growth in recent years, with new housing developments, office buildings, and infrastructure projects springing up across the state. Many of the workers building these projects are undocumented immigrants, who often face dangerous working conditions and the threat of wage theft. Despite these challenges, construction jobs offer a way for undocumented workers to earn a living and support their families. Tourism is another major industry in Florida, particularly in cities like Miami, Orlando, home to Disney World, and the Florida Keys. Many undocumented immigrants find work in the hospitality sector, where they clean hotel rooms, work in restaurants, or provide other services to tourists. These jobs are often low-paying and come with few benefits, but they provide a steady source of income for immigrants who are trying to support their families. Florida's immigrant communities are incredibly diverse, with large populations of immigrants from Latin America, the Caribbean, and other parts of the world. Miami, in particular, is known for its vibrant Cuban-American community, which has shaped the city's culture and politics. However, Florida is also home to large undocumented populations from Mexico, Central America, and Haiti. These communities provide a sense of support and solidarity for undocumented immigrants, offering everything from social services to legal assistance. Despite its reliance on immigrant labor, Florida has implemented strict immigration laws in recent years, particularly under the administration of Governor Ron DeSantis. The state has passed measures that require local law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration authorities, making it easier for undocumented immigrants to be detained and deported. These laws have created a climate of fear for many undocumented immigrants, who worry that any encounter with the police could lead to deportation. One of the most significant challenges for undocumented immigrants in Florida is the threat of deportation. The state has a significant presence of ICE agents, and raids on workplaces and homes are not uncommon. These raids have led to the detention and deportation of many undocumented immigrants, separating families and creating a climate of fear in immigrant communities. However, Florida's immigrant communities remain resilient. In cities like Miami and Orlando, immigrant-led organizations have worked to protect the rights of undocumented workers, providing legal assistance, social services, and community support. These organizations have also been at the forefront of efforts to push back against harsh immigration enforcement policies, organizing protests, lobbying lawmakers, and filing lawsuits to protect the rights of immigrants. Like Illinois, Florida has made some progress in expanding rights for undocumented immigrants, particularly in terms of access to education. The state allows undocumented students to qualify for in-state tuition rates at public universities, provided they meet certain residency requirements. This has made higher education more accessible for undocumented young people who have grown up in Florida and consider it their home. Despite these challenges, undocumented immigrants in Florida continue to play a vital role in the state's economy and culture. In cities like Miami, immigrant communities have built vibrant neighborhoods filled with restaurants, businesses, and cultural institutions that reflect their diverse backgrounds. These communities provide a sense of belonging and support for undocumented immigrants, helping them navigate the challenges of living in the U.S. without legal status. In summary, Florida is a state where undocumented immigrants make significant contributions to the economy, particularly in agriculture, construction, and tourism. While the state has implemented strict immigration enforcement policies, immigrant communities have fought back, organizing for change and building a strong network of support. Despite the challenges they face, undocumented immigrants in Florida continue to shape the state's economy and culture, showing resilience in the face of adversity. 4. New York. Coming in at number 4 is New York, home to approximately 870,000 undocumented immigrants. As one of the most iconic immigrant destinations in the world, New York has a long history of welcoming immigrants, and today it remains a key hub for undocumented populations. New York City, in particular, is one of the most diverse cities in the world, with immigrants from nearly every corner of the globe. The city's immigrant population has been a driving force behind its economic success, particularly in industries like construction, hospitality, and healthcare. Undocumented immigrants in New York work in a variety of sectors, but many are employed in low-wage jobs that offer few benefits and expose them to difficult working conditions. In the construction industry, Undocumented immigrants are often employed as laborers on large building projects, including new skyscrapers, residential buildings, and infrastructure development. They work long hours in physically demanding jobs, often for low pay. Despite the harsh conditions, construction work is a major source of income for undocumented immigrants in the city. The hospitality industry is another major source of employment for undocumented immigrants in New York. Many work in restaurants, hotels, and other tourist-related businesses. These jobs are often low-paying, and workers are frequently exposed to dangerous working conditions. Despite this, the hospitality sector provides a steady source of income for many immigrants who rely on these jobs to support their families. Healthcare is another important industry for undocumented immigrants in New York. Many work as home health aides, providing care for the elderly and disabled. These jobs are often low-paid but essential to the functioning of New York's healthcare system. Undocumented immigrants who work in healthcare are often employed through agencies that provide home care services to clients who need assistance with daily tasks. The work can be physically demanding and emotionally taxing, but it offers a way for undocumented immigrants to earn a living and make a difference in the lives of those they care for. New York has been a leader in protecting the rights of undocumented immigrants. The city is a sanctuary city, meaning that local law enforcement does not cooperate with federal immigration authorities unless there is a court-ordered warrant. This policy has helped protect undocumented immigrants in New York from deportation and has made the city an attractive destination for those seeking safety and security. In addition to sanctuary city policies, New York has implemented several programs aimed at supporting undocumented immigrants. For example, the state provides undocumented immigrants with access to driver's licenses, which allows them to drive legally without fear of being pulled over by law enforcement. The state has also passed laws that provide undocumented immigrants with access to health care, including coverage under the state's Medicaid program for certain low-income immigrants. Despite these protections, life for undocumented immigrants in New York is not without challenges. While the city has made great strides in protecting immigrant rights, federal immigration enforcement remains a constant threat. ICE agents continue to conduct raids and arrests, and many undocumented immigrants live in constant fear of being detained or deported. In terms of education, New York has made significant progress in supporting undocumented students. The state allows undocumented students to qualify for in-state tuition at public universities and colleges, and there are several scholarships available to help them pay for their education. This has made higher education more accessible for undocumented students, particularly those who have grown up in New York and consider it their home. In summary, New York is a state where undocumented immigrants contribute significantly to the economy, particularly in sectors like construction, hospitality, and healthcare. The state has implemented policies to protect immigrant rights, and the city of New York has become a sanctuary for many undocumented immigrants. Despite the challenges posed by federal immigration enforcement, undocumented immigrants in New York continue to be an integral part of the state's economy and society. 3. Texas. At number 3, we have Texas, which is home to a staggering 1.7 million undocumented immigrants. Texas has one of the largest undocumented immigrant populations in the country, largely due to its proximity to the U.S.-Mexico border. Many of the undocumented immigrants in Texas come from Mexico and Central America, and they are often employed in industries like agriculture, construction, and service work. The state's agricultural industry is one of the largest in the country, and it relies heavily on immigrant labor, particularly in fields like fruit and vegetable farming, livestock production, and dairy farming. Undocumented immigrants play a crucial role in harvesting crops and maintaining livestock, often working long hours in the hot Texas sun. The construction industry in Texas has also attracted large numbers of undocumented workers, particularly in cities like Houston, Dallas, and Austin. These workers are often employed in the construction of new homes, office buildings, and infrastructure projects. Many of these jobs are physically demanding and come with little to no job security. Despite this, undocumented immigrants are an essential part of the state's construction workforce, and without them, many projects would not be completed. In addition to agriculture and construction, undocumented immigrants in Texas also work in the service sector, including restaurants, hotels, and cleaning services. Many of these workers are employed in low-wage jobs that offer few benefits and are often subject to poor working conditions. However, these jobs provide a vital source of income for undocumented immigrants, who use their earnings to support their families and send money back to their home countries. In Texas, undocumented immigrants face significant challenges, particularly in terms of immigration enforcement. The state has some of the most stringent immigration laws in the country, and local law enforcement often cooperates with federal immigration authorities to detain and deport undocumented immigrants. This has led to fears among undocumented immigrants, who are often hesitant to report crimes or seek help from law enforcement due to the risk of deportation. Despite these challenges, Texas is home to a number of advocacy organizations that work to protect the rights of undocumented immigrants. These organizations provide legal assistance, social services, and support to undocumented workers, and they have been instrumental in pushing for reform and improving conditions for undocumented immigrants in the state. In terms of education, Texas has made some progress in supporting undocumented students. The state allows undocumented students to qualify for in-state tuition at public universities and colleges, and there are also programs that offer scholarships to help these students pursue higher education. Despite the challenges they face, undocumented immigrants in Texas continue to contribute to the state's economy and culture. In cities like Houston and San Antonio, immigrant communities have built strong support networks, providing social services and advocating for policy changes. These communities are also an important part of Texas' vibrant culture, particularly in terms of food, music, and festivals. In conclusion, Texas is a state where undocumented immigrants play a critical role in the economy, particularly in agriculture, construction, and service sectors. Despite facing significant challenges, including strict immigration laws and the constant threat of deportation, undocumented immigrants continue to contribute to the state's economy and cultural fabric. 2. California. At number 2 is California, home to an estimated 2.3 million undocumented immigrants. California has long been a destination for immigrants from all over the world, particularly those from Latin America and Asia. California's economy is the largest in the United States and is heavily reliant on immigrant labor, particularly in industries like agriculture, construction, technology, and entertainment. The state's agriculture sector is one of the most important in the country, producing a wide variety of crops, including fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Many of the workers who harvest these crops are undocumented immigrants, who perform physically demanding labor in the fields. Despite the difficult nature of the work and often low wages, undocumented immigrants are essential to California's agricultural industry. In addition to agriculture, California's construction industry has also attracted a large number of undocumented workers. Cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego have experienced rapid growth in recent years, with new housing developments, office buildings, and infrastructure projects springing up across the state. Many of the workers building these projects are undocumented immigrants, who often face dangerous working conditions and the threat of wage theft. Despite these challenges, construction jobs offer a way for undocumented workers to earn a living and support their families. California is also home to a large number of undocumented immigrants working in the service sector, particularly in restaurants, hotels, and domestic work. In cities like Los Angeles, undocumented workers are frequently employed as dishwashers, cooks, and cleaners in the state's bustling hospitality industry. These jobs are often low-paying and come with little job security, but they provide a steady source of income for immigrants who are trying to support their families. Despite the challenges, California has taken significant steps to protect the rights of undocumented immigrants. The state has adopted sanctuary policies that limit cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities, providing some level of protection for undocumented residents. Additionally, California offers several benefits to undocumented immigrants, including access to health care for low-income families and the ability to obtain driver's licenses. Education is another area where California has made progress in supporting undocumented immigrants. The state offers in-state tuition to undocumented students who meet certain residency requirements, making higher education more accessible for young immigrants. Additionally, California is home to numerous organizations that provide legal assistance, social services, and educational support to undocumented immigrants and their families. Despite these protections, undocumented immigrants in California still face significant challenges. The threat of ICE raids and deportation looms large, particularly in the current political climate. While California has taken steps to protect its undocumented residents, federal immigration authorities continue to conduct raids in the state, leading to the detention and deportation of many undocumented immigrants. In summary, California is a state where undocumented immigrants make significant contributions to the economy, particularly in industries like agriculture, construction, and the service sector. While the state has taken steps to protect immigrant rights, challenges remain, particularly in terms of federal immigration enforcement and access to fair wages and working conditions. Despite these obstacles, undocumented immigrants in California continue to shape the state's economy and culture, demonstrating resilience in the face of adversity.